Hey guys, just want to welcome you to episode 21 of the Angry Advocate podcast. My name is Ed. I'm the guitar player of Death's Hand and owner of Advocate Media.
And hi everyone, welcome to episode 21. I am Ash, the owner of Angry Ginger Photography. Super excited for this week's episode. We have Mike, the vocalist of Groaning Wretch and Infinite Misery, with us.
What up?
Hello, sir.
How's it going, man?
Chilling.
Nothing wrong with that.
On my Snapchat memories from 2 years ago was when we were in the basement of your grandmother's recording your music video.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Full circle.
That is. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, appreciate you coming in. We had a little change of people here for today, but really glad you could come in and jump on. It's been awesome. Really appreciate you kind of saving us last minute. So, of
course, hope I make a good placement.
You'll be good.
Absolutely.
You'll be good. I'm sure you will. Absolutely. Cool. Well, we're gonna jump right into questions here. I guess right into question one. How long have you been a vocalist and just in bands for in general?
I've been a vocalist for since I was a kid, so like 15, 16 years, something like that. I've been doing bands since I was like 17. I turned 30 this year.
Nice. That's cool. And which I guess you could say just mention a couple bands that you've been in in the past, or bands that were prominent for you kind of in in your upbringing, and just kind of becoming who you are as a vocalist today. Like what bands that you were in, are you really proud of, or kind of pushed you to be where you are today?
Yeah, so I've only been in 3. When I was 17, I joined what became my band Pry. That was my main band, my main touring band for a few years. We had 3 different names, but we became Pry, and that was our locked-in band. I was in Frog Mallet for a little bit. I did their first EP, and then me and Sean from Frog Mallet started Groaning Wretch, and I've been Groaning Wretch since. And then me and Rob, from him leaving Groaning Wretch, started Infinite Misery. So
nice.
Amazing.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. And yeah, having Rob on was awesome. He was a really fun, really cool guy. Really fun to kind of pick his brain about a lot of stuff. Really, really smart guy. Definitely has a lot of information, and it's just, I don't know, really cool that you're in a band with him, and I'm sure that's got to be a really fun writing process to have you together with him, I'm sure.
I've known him for many, many years. Yeah, he's always been like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. He was one of those people where it's I could probably just sit down and talk gear and just everything with him for hours and be totally entertained. That's just really cool.
That's Rob. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Number 2, who are some of your biggest musical influences?
My favorite band since I first heard anything heavy ever is Killswitch Engage. That was the first heavy band that really got me into it. Just good metalcore, Howard Jones specifically. I had an old neighbor that used to live with us. He showed me everything, Atreyu, Silverstein, Hawthorne Heights. When I was an emo kid, I was 11 years old, growing up like that, doing weird inhale screams, not knowing what I was doing. So yeah, bands like that.
Nice.
Awesome.
And do you feel especially naming some of the bands you named, do you feel having and listening to that wide range of a set has really helped you in your vocal process, on how you do things, and just the different characteristics you have in your voice now? Do you feel listening to all those things has shaped you as a vocalist for sure? Or
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm a deathcore vocalist. I've always been a deathcore vocalist since Pry. If I named my influences now, that it would be obviously brutal death metal and slam and death metal. That's mainly what I listen to now. But I going from Killswitch and listening to just heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And I did vocals that entire time trying to learn. You hear so many different styles and weird stuff that makes I would practice I still to this day practice to rise core bands and all that fun stuff, breakdowny Asking Alexandria stuff. I just to do vocals, so I don't really
how is just with how in depth and how wide your range is for vocals, like how does one like practice that?
Um, it is hard. I don't practice as much as I used to, especially now with the band I'm in. It doesn't take as much as like deathcore, which is really nice. It's a nice break comparatively. I probably wouldn't do deathcore again. But yeah, I try to just do bands that I know my range can handle, and I'd like to think I have a pretty wide range. So when I do practice, it's either to my own band now because I could do that, or it's like to bands that I grew up on, and I like to do like everything. I just like to listen to everything.
Yeah.
I'm not like a one trick pony when it comes to music that I listen to. I listen to so much, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I feel like listening to all those different genres, like whether you're a vocalist or a guitar player, a bass player, a drummer, whoever, like you can draw so much inspiration from everything you hear. It's just like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like if and like you said, like if you're good, like, you know, let's just say, and I'm not saying you are, but let's just say like you were just good at like low stuff, right? Like it's like, okay, cool, maybe you could just do that and maybe you're really good at that. But like the fact that like you have such a wide range and you're able to do so much, it gives you so much more freedom to do what you want to do. And it just, and I'm sure all those other vocal styles as well allow the type of stuff you do now to be easier because your vocal cords just have so much more of a range where everything probably seems, I would say, pretty comfortable for you. Maybe there's some stuff that's uncomfortable, but I'm sure most of it is pretty doable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning. You know,
Yeah.
I learn every day. Every time I record, I feel like I learn something new. Like getting into a genre like death metal. I mean, I've been getting into it the last few years. I'm not new to it or anything. I listen my first I think the first heaviest band I listened to was 6 Feet Under, Chris Barnes. So when I was like, I don't even like maybe a year after I learned all those other bands. So like I've been listening to, even hardcore. Hatebreed. Hatebreed was one of the first like really
Yeah.
heavy solidified bands that I listened to. So I've always known vocals, but even when I was younger, like I never figured out my sound, and I'm still like I'd like to think that now I have with death metal, like that really helped me like figure out lows and like going switching into highs for like random parts and stuff like that. Like I don't know, it's weird, like because I can go from that to like singing. I can go from that to deathcore and just yelling. Like it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. Like I feel
Yeah.
like when it comes to vocals and like because I always wanted to be a guitar player when I was younger, and like I said, my old neighbor that showed me like everything that shaped me into listening to what I did. He bought me a guitar, and I just never played it. I learned Smoke on the Water, and then I put it down and just never played it again. So
Yeah. 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 I feel like I feel like vocals, especially for metal, and any offshoot of that, I guess if you want to put it that way. I feel like um it's probably I feel like people sometimes maybe think that like it's like the easier thing to do. Like, oh, I don't have to learn guitar. Oh, I don't have to learn drums. Like, I don't have to learn all these notes and stuff like that. And people think that it's like, oh well, if you can't do this and whatever, you just scream, right? But like, I feel like it's there's so like many intricacies and small parts that like I don't know. It's not an easy thing. Like I can't. I've tried. I've tried to like. I want to add some stuff into my band, and like I've tried to do some stuff, and I can't do it. And maybe it's just because I don't have like any like if I'm sure if I took lessons or talk to somebody, I could probably unlock a couple things. But I feel like there's so many intricacies into it. Like it's a very difficult thing, and especially for death metal, if you want to like put certain parts across, you really have to know how to do a wide range of things with your vocals, you
of
know?
course, yeah, of course. I believe I vocals are hard,
Yeah.
uh, very hard. There's plenty of bands that are very monotone. They do one thing. Like there's so many bands, they do like little things here and there, but you people know there's like there's the knock looses, and like he'll do a pig squeal here and there, but you know that he just does that one thing because it works for him.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
learning like deathcore vocals was like I recommend like some people can't, and if you can, then you could do pretty much anything. You do death metal lows, gutturals, highs. Like learning inhales is cool. I mean, like it's all cool if you can learn how to do it. That's why you see a lot of vocalists now are just doing inhales because
Yeah.
it's easy, and some are amazing. Some you can't even tell. So
Right.
like it's a spectrum, and like it takes years and years and years. Like you could change strings on a guitar, you could change pickups, you could change it and make it sound amazing. But like when it comes to vocals, if you sound horrible, then you sound horrible. Like
Right.
you got to
Yeah.
practice. You have to drink like tea with honey. You have to drink water with honey. You have to take, I don't know, like throat coat, all that stuff. And like sometimes you sound bad at shows, sometimes you sound good, and that can be said about instruments. But like comparatively, like
Yeah.
I feel like you can get away with playing bad depending on what you're playing, but when you do vocals wrong, it's very debilitating because you're like, damn, I could have done
Yeah.
that
Well,
better, or
and
like
and I feel like with the guitar, like, I mean, it would have to be really drastically bad. Like, you know what I mean?
right,
Like and vocals, sometimes you literally can't control it. Guitar, you should like you can really control whether you're doing bad or not. Like if you're
right,
drunk, like you're gonna sound like, well, maybe not everybody, but if you're drunk or you're messed up, like or if you've injured your hand, whatever, maybe you're gonna sound bad. But like vocals, you could feel fine a whole day, go on stage and absolutely sound like shit. You know what I mean?
exactly,
Like I've
100%.
yeah, I've been to shows before where you go to see a band and you've watched their live videos on YouTube and you're like, "Oh man, they sound really good." And then like the one show you go to, you're like, "They sound like absolute garbage." And
And
it's that one show. They just happen to have a day that's really bad. It
yeah,
just it happens. Yeah, it's I'm sure it's frustrating, especially because like you said, like with guitar, you really can kind of prevent most of that stuff unless you have some sort of like electrical malfunction. But with your voice, like if you're off, you're off, and there's nothing you can change about it.
exactly,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Mhm.
crazy. Um, cool. Let's jump into question 3. Who are your favorite local bands right now? And that's not necessarily like right around you, but just you know, local-ish.
Weeping from New Jersey, I think they're from New Jersey. Weeping, Blood Tithe from Mass, my boys in Tar. Let's see. I would put Euclid up there. They're really good friends of mine. Um, Frog Mallet. I mean, that's the band that really started Groaning Wretch for me. So those are really close friends of mine that I've been friends with for many years now. They got me into death metal, and like I met a lot of people through being in that band, and like progressing to Groaning Wretch, it really got me into that. Um, there's another band from Mass called Mourned. They're really good, really underrated death metal band that's been around for a long time. Hmm. Roots of Deception. Our drummer is in Roots of Deception. That is probably one of the best bands out of New England right now. They have like a 17-year-old guitar player, and he is ridiculous. He's filled in for us a couple times. I really appreciate them a lot. They helped us out a lot too. Damn, that's hard. There's so many bands. I feel like there's so many bands.
Mhm.
Um, Scasm from New Jersey. They're like an up and coming, like really, 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 really good brutal death metal band. They just put out an album. That's probably my album of the year. Like Scasm is disgusting. Um, hmm. I would say just I'm trying not to name like every band ever, but
Yeah,
that's
no,
I think
Making
that's
sure you're covering everyone at the same time.
I feel like I'm just naming my friends too, so I feel kind of bad, but
no,
that's who that's who we resonate with. That's like our people. So like we meet a lot of people and play with bigger bands from that. Like this Thursday we're playing with a band called Gordon Brace, amazing band. Splattered Spine, I'm wearing their hoodie right now. They're from ooh, I don't remember. Oh wait, it's on my arm. They're from Delaware. That's not that far. I guess you can call that local. They're probably like one of my favorite death metal bands. Um, Skelm, they're from Washington. Amazing death metal band. That was my album of the year last year. Yeah, there's just so many good bands coming out, especially in like my sphere of death metal. that I could just name. I could probably sit here and name you 100. There's so many good bands. I just like to listen. I'll go to any show. I'll listen to any band. Like as long as you're my friend. Like I don't care how bad you are, how good you are. Like I'll be like this band rules because they're
Full
so
support.
cool. Like there's
Yeah.
just so many good bands coming out. Like Connecticut scene because I'm from Connecticut. There's a few, but like we like to branch out and play with everybody. Like we like to state and just meet new people and like interact on like Instagram and like just meet so many bands that are like, oh, come to our state and play. Like it's really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like one of my favorite parts about being in the music scene right now. Like before, when I was younger, I feel like I was fueled maybe by something else. But for me now, it's just like I just want to go out and like I don't care really how well we do or not do or how many people listen to our music or whatever. Like I feel like it just like it's just like my biggest passion, and I just want to write music, record music, play music, hang out with people, learn about new bands, like listen to new bands, take photos of new bands. Like I don't know, it just that part of it and kind of capturing that part of it and just like being in it. You know what I mean? Like not like worrying about where you're placed. It's about
100%.
being in it and just enjoying it. I feel like that's the biggest part for me right now that I'm really enjoying. And especially with this podcast, which like again, Ash and I have talked about this and we've talked about this on the podcast, but it's just like this is a huge part of it is like meeting people and talking to people and just like be instead of just being in my little part in Maine, like doing my thing, like I get to branch out and talk to people from all over New England and I mean outside of New England too, and just have that experience of meeting people and talking to people and
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's
It's all about making connections. That's like making connections is being in a band. Like not only do you make friends, like you get to do cool stuff and like you can't complain about that. That's like the whole point. Like you meet the one guy at a show, he's like, "Oh, I'm booking this big fest in Farawayville," and you go there and you play to the biggest crowd of your life. Like that's
right.
so cool and you make new friends. Like my band, all my best friends. I would never be in a band that doesn't have my friends in it. I've
Yeah.
tried it. Like yeah, it's like, and you make friends being in bands that you've never been in, but like I don't know, I feel like there's nothing like being in a band with your best friends because especially when you like mesh really well and you could like write together and disagree but like healthy, like, and I don't know. It's like yeah, it's all about the connection to me. Like I like the connection with meeting new friends and doing cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's been when I think about like some of my favorite local shows, it's one of them is when Groaning Wretch played the Grange in Newburgh, New York, because that's where I was born originally from. And you guys played with Servant of Sorrow, but I had like friends there that I grew up with. So it was like the first show I got to experience like
Right.
my new friends with old friends like all come together and
And that
it's
show was awesome.
exactly
That show was awesome. Everybody
that.
was cool. Everybody moshed. Everybody moved. Like, yeah, I have a show like that too. I mean, I forgot to say, I was also in a band called Burying Point. I think you talked to members of Burying Point.
Yep.
Uh,
You were in
I was
Bearing Point?
yeah. We put out a single with them.
Josh, I know Josh like actually watches our podcast every week. You like yeah.
I
Okay.
forgot to say that. Yeah, I had a couple beers. I was in Burying Point for a very short time. I'm also amazing dudes. I would probably put them up
Yeah.
there, like my favorite local bands. Really great dudes. That we played a double set with Vomit Forth at the Webster in Hartford.
That's sick.
I
That's
I
so
did like a
cool.
double set.
do remember
Yeah,
seeing that.
yeah, really good
Okay.
dudes too. Yeah, yeah. So like, and I met a lot of people through that too. Like they come, kids that like Bearing Point came up to me. Oh, amazing! Kids that like death metal and Groaning Rich from Vomit Forth. Oh, amazing! Like
Yeah.
stuff like that is really cool, and it's like I feel like it's two ends of the spectrum because, like I said, deathcore, like Bearing Point's a really good deathcore band, and
But
like
I'm just thinking like I'm just baffled. Like I'm thinking of your vocals like with the oh my god,
yeah,
dude.
put a Onslaught. If you go on Spotify, we put out a single called Onslaught, and that's me on that.
And
I'll
that
I'll have to check that out. I don't know if I've heard that one. Yeah, the guys in Bearing Point are awesome. John, the guitar player, him and I have been going back and forth talking gear like the last like 3 weeks. Like he just randomly messaged me. It was like, "Hey man, what do you think about this? Like, what do you think
Amazing.
about that?" Like, and we've just like literally like we've been doing it for like yeah, probably the last like two or maybe 3 weeks, just going back
Yeah,
and forth with gear. And then bass player Josh, right?
Gosh,
Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah, he sent me when we had him on the podcast, he sent me, like, a huge black metal playlist that he made because like, he was, like, super obsessed with it, and, like, I think
Because
it was a
because he was listening when we had Dev on the show. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
We know
and
you're
yeah,
Yeah.
listening now. I love you, Josh. Biggest
yeah,
shout
Josh
out to
Josh
Josh
also
O'Leary.
loves, yeah, he loves death metal. Like him and I,
yeah,
when I
yeah,
was in the band, we talked about death metal. He
yeah.
I think he likes death metal more than what he's doing. So
Oh,
it was
yeah,
very easy to talk to him. Really nice guy.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
great band, all of them. Their drummers are like one of my favorite people in the world. They're all great dudes.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, they're super cool. Super nice.
Awesome. Holy
Yeah. I'll
cow.
have to listen to that single now that I'm literally
I just
as soon as we're
literally
do yeah,
I
as
think
soon
I
as we're
wrote,
done on
yeah, I
this.
think I wrote the lyrics and vocals for I so when I write, I sometimes not for Groaning Wretch anymore because we record with our drummer, but usually when I record and write lyrics while I'm recording. So they sent me the song because this is when I first joined. That it was so quick, like, oh, you're in the band, like, here's the new song, write it. And I was like, okay. So I sat down right here and I wrote everything probably in less than a day, like a couple hours for that song, and it was really fun. That is a good song. You should check it
That
out.
that's similar to what Ryan does in our band. He'll literally write the well, not as he records them, but he'll write the lyrics like the day before he's recording. You know what I mean? Like, because
Right.
we'll go in, we'll record, we'll do our little production changes, and if little parts change or whatever, and then he'll literally like day before run through everything, write it, go in and record it with Evan, and then like if Evan thinks some changes need to be made, we make a couple little changes here. But he does the same thing, writes
Yeah.
right before, so it's nice and fresh, like and just kind of that's kind of his thing. I know you said you don't do that anymore, but
Not
that's
anymore. Yeah.
yeah,
When we write music, we write it together now, and like the instrumentals get sent to me after we meet up every Wednesday for Groaning Wretch now. Um I'll write lyrics at work, I'll listen to the instrumental, or I'll like do it at home, and like I have to go to his house and do it there after I think I got all the arrangements because I like to make arrangements while I'm recording. I don't know. It's just I'm just used to it. I'm
No,
very
I'm just
OCD.
my face is like you get to have Groaning Wretch practice every week. That's a thing now. You guys all live
Yeah.
in the same place.
I still have to drive an hour, but it's okay.
It's not you don't have to drive to Sean's though, so I mean
Yeah, I think we practiced at Sean's once.
that's funny.
But
valid.
yeah, well, I mean, we haven't really been practicing because we're working on our full length right now, so we haven't practiced. We play a show this Thursday, so we're gonna be practicing tomorrow actually. But
Nice,
yeah, we're really full length focused right now. Like we have like we're gonna put out like 8 songs. I think we got 6 done. So
nice,
Holy cow.
nice. That's kind of our that's the move we want to make too. We're so behind of where we want to be right now. Like we've got everyone's got a lot of stuff going on, so we're a little bit behind. But I would like to do a full length and do like 8. That's
yeah,
kind of
I mean, we've had
I'm
so many
feeling that.
member changes. We've had so many I'm the only original member in right now. I'd like to think right now we have a solidified like group of people. So I think, and we just got a new guitar player. It's actually a returning member. I think when's this coming out? Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
We have Hunter, who's technically an original member. He's joining back.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's joining back on guitar, and he's going to be our solidified second guitar player. So by the time this comes out, because he's playing the show Thursday, I guess it can come out and we'll say like, yeah, Hunter's back in the band. So that's cool. He lives like right next to our drummer pretty much. So
Nice.
yeah, but
Holy cow.
yeah. So I think right now every member of this band is. I like to call it a super group at this point because there's so like I kind of I feel like I stole like every member of the band from like already amazing bands, and everybody knows what they want, and everything that they want is perfect for the blend of what we're trying to do. It still sounds like us, but it's different. Like we have a new single coming out next month. I'm also gonna announce that. I don't care. We have a new single. We have a new single coming out next month. We just got the sketch for our full length. It's disgusting. Like everything we're doing is everything that I've wanted to do since this band started. And being the only founding member, coming from being in the band with Sean, who wrote the entire first EP, and I just did vocals. It was supposed to be an internet project, and it was just me and him back and forth. Um, it is probably like my favorite music I've ever done. My favorite band, like my band is my favorite band.
Yeah,
That's how it should be. Like I don't want to do it unless I'm having fun, and it's the most fun that I've ever had in my life.
yeah,
Like you know, that's that's how it should be.
yeah.
I have really nothing more to say than that. Like it's fun.
Yeah. That's that I totally agree with that. Like if you're in a band for any other reason, well, I don't know if well, yeah, I'm gonna say it. I don't care. If you're in a band for any other reason than like having fun and doing what you want to do, and like sure if you want to make money, cool. Like it's very difficult for bands to do that. Even if you're
Right.
popular, it's very hard to do that. But like I feel like if you're in any other band other than trying to really have fun, be with your friends, go out, meet people, and just have it be a passion. Like I
Exactly.
just there's no I don't know. I don't see the draw for it. Unless you're making a bunch of money, I could see that. But other than that, like I don't know.
I
I
think
wouldn't
I think making money is definitely like it is an important aspect, but it shouldn't get in the way of the main focus of being in a band, which is writing music with your best friends.
exactly. Exactly.
You know,
Like
there's bigger bands that like have known each other for 50 years and they hate each other, but they do it because they make millions of dollars. But like
right. Right.
at the end of the
Exactly.
day, like you know, you got to pay the bills. Like you got
Yeah.
to selling merch. That like the only way you really make money is physical media.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
selling merch and everything is cool because it buys you more merch. It buys you full length art. Like
Right.
at the end of the day, you know, money runs everything, and that's the main point. But when it comes to being in the band itself, I don't think about money. I'm like, I'm gonna go see my friends, and we're gonna write fire.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
that's like that's
Yeah.
my main thing about it. Like money, of
Yeah.
course, is very important when it comes to being in a band, but like
Yeah.
eh, our drummer is a producer. We can go record whenever we want, and I don't care about money. I just want to put out music that people
Right.
like and music that I listen to myself.
Yeah. Exactly. And yeah, and the biggest thing for me is like I just want to have fun playing live. Like that's all I care about.
Exactly. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I just wanna have fun playing live. Like, that's like, if you're not having fun when you're on stage, then you're either doing something wrong or you know, don't be in a band and play live. I don't know. Just
100%. And
just
I
do an
want to
internet
sound better
project.
live. Like I want to be better live.
Yeah.
I want to put out cool music that sounds great, but then I want people to see us and they're like, "Damn, they sounded huge." Like
Right.
being called like, "Oh, you sounded huge" is like probably the best compliment. It's like, yeah, playing live, yeah, sounding sick live is just another
Same.
level of being in a band, I think.
Same. Yeah. I was just about to say, like, saying you sound huge, like literally that exact word. Like having somebody say that when you play, you're like, okay, cool. I don't need you to tell me that we sounded tight. I don't need you to tell me that like I don't care. Like whatever. Like bands sound good some days. Bands sound bad some days. Sometimes you're tight. Sometimes you're not. It just happens. But like as a band, if you can sound like huge, like like you're more than you are,
Right.
like that's the biggest compliment. I think we played I think it was the show with Cytokine at the 978 Lounge. And we played and the sound guy after our set was like, so some random dude came up or came down from like the fourth floor. He's like, because he heard your band so clearly and it sounded so huge that he came down to come see your band. I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
I don't care about anything else. That one guy just made my night. Like
That's what you want. Yeah. That's what you
it's
want.
like
That's
that's super rad. Like that's a huge compliment, like and especially for us, like technically most of the time we're just a drummer, me on guitar and a singer. Like our other guitar player doesn't make it to many shows, and then we don't have a bass player. A bass player's a backing track. So
oh
like
wow.
yeah, So like literally like it's sometimes it's just a three piece on stage. So when people hear us and then like we're just a three piece on stage and someone comes up and is like, how do you sound so like just big as a band with like one guitar? I mean, we have backing tracks, we have synth and random stuff on in the back too, but that like that's what I want people to come up to say like,
Yeah,
holy
of
shit, there's
course.
one guitar player on stage and you sound huge. That's how do you accomplish that? It's just like
Right.
that's that's what makes me feel good. It's like, okay, cool. Like we sound large, we sound like, a lot more than what we are. And like that's like I said, one of the biggest compliments I
I
would
want
say.
to sound better than I am recorded.
Yeah, same.
And like I like the cool thing about being like a live band too is, doing vocals especially. I could do different stuff. I could add stuff here and there. I can like people be like, "Oh, I love what you did there," instead of on the record. And like stuff like that is really cool. You could do whatever you want. That's what I
Yeah.
also like about playing live. Like our drummer does different drum stuff every set. Like I just like playing different solos that work. Like it's just stuff like that is really cool to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like most of the time I play pretty close to what's on the record, but sometimes I don't. Like if I I've noticed that if I'm having a lot of fun, like if I'm like just I'm playing and I'm like, "Man, I'm just feeling it tonight." Like not that I'm playing tight, not whatever. Just that if I feel like I'm having fun, sometimes I'll just do random stuff. Like
Exactly.
at the Bad Burger show that we played, the last show that we played, um I have like it's like a new Alpha Wolf pedal that does this like crazy octave shit and it makes it sound like super chaotic. And like in one of our songs, I was just having such a good time. I was like, I'm just gonna do some random freaking like crazy weird like double octave up like chaotic shit in these random spots. And I did and I loved it. Like I don't care if anybody else loved it. Like I loved it. I had a blast. It was fun. I
Right.
was like, cool, it's
That's
just
what
something different,
matters.
Hey,
Yeah.
if it works, it works. If it sounds cool, I mean, come on.
Yeah. That's fun. And I'm sure with vocals it's probably the same way. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
if you just
I feel like I try to do something different every show or just make the same thing cooler than the last time.
yeah. 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 And I'm sure like there are times probably when you play live where like you find something and you're like, "Oh shit, this is different than record, but I really love doing it." And then you continue to do it live every time or then
Or,
maybe you do a
or
slight
bring it to the
variation.
record or bring it to new music.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like, "Ooh, I could do that on the album. That's awesome."
Yeah. Yeah.
I love stuff like that. Yeah, I love doing that.
That's super cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I feel like variation and just when you're comfortable enough and you're having a good enough time, like those are the most fun times to be able to do those like just different things. I'm gonna change this up. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
that's what makes being in a band or one of the things about being in a band really fun is when you're so comfortable with your music and you're having such a good time where you can just screw around,
And
you
especially,
know?
yeah, and when the dynamic is just perfect between every member and like you just feel it. Like you can just feel it. Like drummer is killing it, and I'm just like, damn, like I'm freaking out at my own band. Like, and I
Right.
love stuff like that. It just makes me
Yeah.
feel so good. I can't move like I used to, but like I try to jump around and dance as much as I can. Like when just stuff like I feel the music. That's like one of
Yeah.
my favorite things ever. I feel like stage presence. That's another thing. Like having a band where the stage presence is just so sick and people just go nuts. Like our bass player AJ, that is the craziest human being I've ever encountered in my life. So like watching him, I'm just like, damn. Like it's stuff like that is
The
sick.
faces he makes, he's ridiculous.
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't want to go near him in a pit. I don't want to go near him when he's playing. I don't want to like it's yeah. So, stuff like that is really cool. Like
That's awesome. That's really awesome. That's super cool. Um, yeah, what's question 4? That's you, Ash, right? I
That's
think.
you.
It's me?
Yeah, I
Oh,
started.
it is me. Okay, cool. Cool. So question 4,
You
what
can
is
touch on it
your
a little bit.
yeah. What is your process for writing vocals and lyrics in your song?
yeah, so I mean
Brainstorm.
now I mean I kind of mentioned this before, like I have to do it before I record. So I would say I name the song first. Especially for the full length coming up. Um I don't want to say any names of the songs to really explain it, but like 4 songs have specific name titles that like it'll make sense when we put out the songs. But and then
Yeah.
4 other ones are just whatever I want that I think is sick. But I'll name the song first. And with death metal, I mean, you could write about the most disgusting thing ever, and it's not real. So like, I'll write about like I don't know, just most of the time it's about killing people, obviously.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
but you could do it in very meticulous ways where it's just like you're watching a movie. I think I want people to read the lyrics and feel like they're either reading a book or they're watching or reading a script for a movie kind of thing. So like I think about it like that. Like I try to make it very descriptive and very rhymey. I'm very rhymey. Like I grew up listening to like 90s hip hop and stuff and like I read a lot of the lyrics and like I feel like rhyming is like the coolest thing ever, especially in death metal because it's very groovy and bouncy and like it just makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Like I like to be very rhymey, but also use like big synonyms and like really weird words that you would never read before, but when you read it, it just makes sense when you look it up. So that's a big process of my writing, and it always has been since I started writing. Because when I was in my first band, I didn't really until the guitar player who wrote all the lyrics and music left. He wrote all of the lyrics, he wrote all the arrangements, but when he left, I that was Pry. So like it was 2018, I think. That's when I started writing, and I would and like I don't know. I have ADHD. My mind wanders. I think about stuff all the time. So I'm like, what if a guy has schizophrenia and I write a song about the guy, all the voices yelling at him to do crazy things. And like, I'll have every band member be the voices and yell in the song, like backing vocals. And I did that and it was really awesome and it worked out and it was really cool. So stuff like that, like, I like to really think about what I'm doing or like how I'm going to scream it, how long I'm going to scream it, and what people like, it'll make sense in people's ears. Like, oh, he did that for a reason. So like I like to think about stuff like that. That's a big part of my writing. Like it's a movie. I'm a big movie guy. So like
Yeah,
I
that's
like to
cool.
write. I like to make my own movies, but into music kind of thing. That's a big part of it for me.
That's cool. That's cool. And the other reason why I wanted to ask this question too is like, do you have a specific process of like how you come up with your cadences and like how you know what I mean? Like is there a certain process? Because like that for me is the part that I'm the most interested in. Like it's super cool. Like, how do you figure out the exact cadence? Do you listen to the guitar and you try to match it? Do you do a syncopated rhythm off of the guitar or off of what the double kick is doing? Or do you know what I mean? Like what goes through your head when you're doing those specific things? Like how do you make those decisions? And the same thing, how do you make the decision when I want to go for a long scream here, or I want to do these super short staccato screaming parts? Like, how do you come up with that specific process? Because that shit blows my mind. That's the kind of
Yeah.
stuff that I like to listen to.
So
You know?
I love to talk about this kind of thing. So like when I record at home, I'll record like but I really like to be a one take kind of person where I'm like, "Ooh, that was perfect." But I'm gonna do a better another take, but I still want to consider it like I did it good that one take, but I'm just gonna scream it better. Like it's kind of like a practice thing. That's another thing that goes back to the asking how like, how we practice and everything. Recording, that's another thing. But yeah, so I like to record a lot. And when I record at home, when I was recording at home, I should say, and I still do from time to time, I like to record for fun. um I'll redo stuff. I'll go back, I'll hear it. Like even when I do vocal covers, I want to do it like better almost than the vocalist on the original song. Or like when I'm recording with Slam, our drummer, I'll have something in mind and I'll come with the full song, but then even I'll hate it. I'll be like, yeah, I want to do that differently, and I'll know. It's kind of like if you know,
Yeah.
I guess you could say. It's really hard to explain how my mind works with it, but and like I said, it's like a fallback to like 90s hip hop stuff. They do weird ad libs and weird like
Yeah.
holding out like stuff like old dirty bastard. Like he
Yeah.
does weird, like noises and like holds them out the whole time, and like it works for the song even though it's just over a beat. So like if I name it, like going back to naming the songs, this will come into play with it. Like I want to yell that name in the song. So I'm like, ooh, there's a break here. I can hold it out, like name the song and like hold it out. And it works perfectly. Like our song Drenched in Fluids, like I think when I wrote that, I was like, what's the most corny, like basic, like old school death metal kind of lyric? So I just put the name in the beginning of the song. The time has come to be drenched in fluids, and I just like I held it out, and then it just goes into the song. So stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like stuff like that just comes to you almost too. Like I like that's why I like to do stuff like that in the moment because like it's organic. I feel like it's just like it comes to you organically. Like oh that's perfect, and like you know it's perfect, and like I don't know. I love that question. It makes me it really that stuff like that really makes you
Yeah.
think. Like that makes me think because I never really think about it until I'm asked stuff like that, and like
Yeah.
that it's just how I'm wired, kind of
Yeah.
like because I've heard bands with horrible placement, horrible arrangements, and I
Yeah.
feel like I want to talk. I want to talk to them,
Mhm.
but like
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just I think that's always been my bread and butter was arrangements in vocal placement and in lyrics. I think even more so than my vocals themselves. I think I'm like in timing. I think I'm like that's like the best things that I do vocally is I'm amazing with arrangements and I'm like I don't care. I'll brag about it and be like a dick about it, but like I really hold myself to the standard of like I want it to be catchy, I want it to sound sick, and I want people to listen to it and yell it back to me.
Yeah.
And same thing with
Mhm.
that, Drenched in Fluids. I've never played a show, even with two people that didn't come up and yell that.
Yeah.
Just the intro when I scream it. So like that's what I want. And like I know that's very like I guess you can call that mainstream where like it's just very
Mm.
like radio-esque and thought like, oh, I want people to just sing my songs and yell them at the crowd. But like even for being a death metal band, like I feel like a lot of death metal bands don't care about that. They just want to sound like really dark and gloomy. And like I do too. But I want people to yell my words to me no matter what band I'm in, no matter what genre I play. And I think that's really, really, really important because videos exist, phones exist, people record that shit, and when they put it online, like I could repost and be like, "This is awesome." It just makes you feel really good. So
Yeah.
that's a big part of writing for me. Like I think like, how would this sound live? Going back to what we talked about with playing live, like you always got to keep stuff like that in mind. Like, how is this going to translate live? Can I do this live? How are people going to think of this when they hear it live? I love hearing the woos when like it's just like just a vocal break, like you're screaming. It's fucking awesome. So
Yeah.
like that's what I think of. Like I feel like you got to think of everything, and I think with my OCD and ADHD, like weird scrambled brain, I just think of everything at once and I go crazy. And like even when I'm just with my friends on a Wednesday recording like a stupid death metal album, like my mind just like locks in and like I don't
Mhm.
think about anything else. I'm like, this needs to sound sick or I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
So that's
So one of my favorite questions to then ask on top of that is you say you love being in a band with your friends where you can like if something is like have that debate and everything. How do you as a vocalist articulate when you don't like something that's happening in a song? Like
like while I'm recording.
yes, like not
uh,
specifically your parts, like riffs and everything. Like
I'll literally tell Slam, I'll be like, I hated that, delete it, and I'll just re-record it. Pretty much, like I'm kind of like I'm just kind of like there. Like I'm like I'm gonna redo that. We finished our first single that's coming out next month. I think we finished that 2 months ago. I want to say, and we've just been writing,
Yeah.
and literally we finished full on a song a few weeks ago, and I was like, hey, I want to record the end of that single. I didn't like it. I listened to it every day for weeks. I don't like it. I'm re-recording it. Song's already mastered and mixed and everything you could think of. I don't like it. I'm re-recording it. And he's like, okay. And I do it, and they're like, that's sick. That's pretty much how it goes. Like I don't think anybody's afraid to stand up and be like, yo, this sucks. Or like I don't like this, or this could be better. And I'll be the first person to do it. If I think something is bad, I'm changing it. Like that's just how it is. Like and most of the time, if not, like everyone agrees, they're like, "Oh, the old one was sick." But then I'll redo it, and they're like, "Okay, I get it."
Yeah.
That's kind of like
And
how it works for me.
do you feel like is it the same like if guitar players bring riffs to the table while you're writing, like is it the same with that too? Like if someone writes something and they're like if they're really like, "Hey, I really like this part," but like let's say you or multiple other people in the band don't like it, is it easy to bring that up? Like especially with
Yeah.
your all being friends, like
So that's kind of weird for me because and weird for everybody in the band, frankly, because like most of the members have been in for like over a year, 2 years now. Because I think we started in 22, so we've been a band for over let's say over 3 years now. And like I think the members that have been in I think longer than original members. So I could say this. This is the first band I've ever been in where everyone wrote. Like not one, just the guitar player writes all the songs, and then you add drums. Like everyone contributes. So we're doing this fresh. Like we're meeting up on a Wednesday and starting songs. So that's very new for me. Like songs aren't coming to me. I'm watching it happen. So I would say like it's very easy to be like, "Oh, don't chug as much there. Don't do as much wild stuff. Just make it simple." And they're like, "Yeah, you're right." Because I feel like every member of my band comes from different genres of either death metal or hardcore or metalcore, and like, but they all love death metal, so that's why it meshes so well. So if we're like, "Oh, do that more this or do that more that or don't do that," we listen because we know what sounds good. We know what we want to sound like, and we don't want to overdo it, but we also kind of want to overdo it to make it unique. Like I feel like the things that we're doing now are way more like different than they were. And actually I'll send you our single. I don't think I sent it to you yet. I'll send you the song so you can like hear what we sound like now. It's very different, but like it still sounds like Groaning Wretch. It's really hard to explain because I think it all falls down to the drummer too. Like he comes from brutal death metal. He's playing fast,
Mhm.
like just blasts and like really slammy stuff. So like he
And
incorporate
he's writing it because I remember, well, at least for parts of it, of what I recall, like the first music Zach learned is what Sean
it's what
programmed.
Sean
So
wrote.
it's like
Yeah,
it's difficult to be a drummer, like playing what a guitarist programs versus
hundred
when a
percent.
drummer can actually do
yeah,
it.
And
yeah, yeah, totally different.
Rob wrote our split pretty much. Like everyone recorded it and like put in their own ideas at the time, but Rob was really the front runner for our split that we just put out with Tar. And that was like learning that like it's more technical and like I get the difficulty. Like writing to it is difficult. Like I still have difficulties writing as much as I know I'm like pretty decent at it. And especially with the new stuff, like it is different in the sense of it's a little more technical, but it's very like old school. So like that's what I listen to a lot of brutal death metal. I listen to a lot of slam. I listen to a lot of hardcore and like just like old school death metal, obituary, like stuff like that. Like so, we try to incorporate all of that to where it translates. And like I want to do stuff that nobody has done before, but keep it death metal. So like I
Absolutely.
don't I don't want to be core by any means. I like to scratch the surface with hardcore elements like bands like Final Resting Place. Oh my god, Final Resting. If you haven't heard of that band, like stuff like that, 200 Stab Wounds, very
Yep.
hardcore element like in their music. So like I love that kind of death metal where it's like people could kick each other in the head, but then they could push each other, then they could spin in circles and stuff like that. So yeah, we have a good dynamic. I feel like if you don't have a good dynamic, like I said before, then it's not going to work out and you can't like stand up and be like that sucks or like we could do that better.
Yeah.
So I think having a good dynamic and like I said, being in a band with all your friends that know what they want and like what they all listen to, like you sit for hours just talking about music and not even working on music. Like we do that all the time. We grab
Yeah.
beers and like we drink beer and just like bullshit about like what's the best band from the 90s. And like we'll do stuff like that. And I'll be like, oh, I want to sound like I want to incorporate that in our music. And like that snare is awesome from this album from 20 years ago. Let's use that snare or like let's use this tuning. So like dynamic. That's how I would really describe like standing up and like saying like and I'm just a vocalist, so I know music, but at the same time like I can't write any of it. And like I give ideas, like I'll be like dun 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 dun, dun stuff like that, but like at the end of the day, I rely on those dudes to know what they're doing. So I'd like to think that they do, and I don't really say as I don't find myself having to a lot of the
Yeah.
time. Like So, because like I said, like every member of our band listens to death metal. They know what death metal sounds like. They know how to write it. They know their favorite bands. They know the subgenres of that genre. So we want to stick with the groaning wretch sound, but just make it like different. I want people to hear it and be like, "Ooh, that sounds like a song from the first EP. Ooh, that sounds like a song from the Split." Callback lyrics, like just stuff like that. And it's really important to me. Like I take this very seriously, and like this is the first time I think being in a band, and I was in a touring band. Like I've toured multiple times with my old band Pry, and like that was a huge deal for me too. And that was like a big time for my life and like finding myself with music. But like I think this band now really like solidified who I am as an artist and like who I am as a vocalist. I really think so. And like my friend groups, the people that I associate with. So like that's yeah, that's very important to me.
That's
Like
cool.
being able to communicate. Communication.
Yeah.
You should be able to communicate.
Yeah, communicating with your band members is definitely huge, you know, and just being able to understand like at least everybody having you know, somewhat of a similar you know, idea or, you know, destination for what you want the band to be, you know what I mean? And I feel like you said, like we my band Death's Hand as a band, we don't practice very often. We don't get a chance to. Just we're kind of too spread apart. So when it comes to like writing and recording and stuff, it kind of it more relies on either Kyle or I writing songs and then bringing it to the table. Drummer adds their part, vocalist adds their part, and then like from there, stuff gets changed in the studio, or you know maybe you know Ryan, there's a vocal part, and he's like, hey, can we extend this a measure because I want to add this part, or hey, can we shorten this, or maybe you know instead of doing this you know more open, can you palm mute this part because I want to do a certain vocal part that's like this, or you know whatever, or same thing with drums, like you know Kelly might have an idea. So it's a little bit different. And um I like writing all in a room. The first band I was ever in did that a lot. Like that was like every song was written from beginning to end all together. Everybody put in their own, you know, 2 cents and changed everything. And that's all. And that's always fun. And that's awesome that you guys get to do that. Um,
It
that's that
feels
that
old school.
yeah
Like it feels like you're in a band that's just starting the genre for the first time, and like you're all writing together, and you're like, "Ooh, that'll work." Like, yeah, I really love that. And you know, there's nothing wrong with having like a solidified member that can write all of it and knows what it should sound like, but it's just a different dynamic when like everybody in the room is like, I feel really good about this and like this is
yeah.
fun. I just like it. I just want everyone to have fun.
I
Yeah.
well, I also feel like when you get to do that, it's definitely more of a, how do I explain it? It feels like you're writing as a band. Right? Like
Exactly.
you
Yes. Yes.
like every like how do I want to exactly word it? It's like everybody is weaving the DNA in the same room at the same time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Instead of like, you know, you know, someone writes in their home studio and then you know emails it to the other guitar player, the other guitar player learns it or like adds their own parts. Like it's different. It's
Right.
you're weaving the DNA all in one space all at the same time. And like a lot of times we do that. Sometimes there's a couple songs where we've had parts that are like written all together in the same room, and when we do that, it definitely is like, I mean, there's so much creativity, there's so much like, you know, you're kind of just throwing stuff together sometimes. Like Kyle came in with a riff, I think the last time we had a practice, and he played something, and I started playing a riff that I literally made up on the spot over it. And everybody stopped. They're like, "Yep, that's it. Whatever you just did, remember that." Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and
Yeah,
and
we
that
do the same thing. Yep.
yeah, and that kind of stuff. That's when I feel like that's the real DNA of the band. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
just
Without
you know, passing riffs here and passing riffs here. It's fun, and that's how we write now, which is fine. And I feel like we do have a sound for my band, but um, it's definitely more fun, more organic, and like I said, it's really weaving the DNA when you can all write in one room at the same time.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
absolutely.
it's definitely a different experience for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Question 5.
Yep. Question 5.
I'm ready.
See, now I got mixed up. I was like, that's you, but no, it's me.
Nope,
I'm here like an
you.
idiot. What's next for you? Groaning Wretch and Infinite Misery.
Yeah, so Groaning Wretch comes out with a full length this year. In the next few months, we're looking at summer. Just waiting on features and like writing more and coming together. We come together once a week. Infinite Misery. Rob is writing. He's currently writing. He sent me a couple things, and I'm just waiting on that. Like Rob is Rob, so Rob takes a long time for perfection. He's a perfectionist, so it's the beauty of the internet project is we could do whatever we want when we want. There's no like expectation, like so he's doing his thing, and like it's really 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 good. Like he is ridiculous. So so hopefully, I'm assuming a new song this year. I'm hoping we're gonna put out an EP. I think we're gonna put the songs from the 3-song demo that came out. I'm hoping for that. So I know for a fact we're gonna come out with an EP for that. I'm hoping this year, sometime this year. But yeah, as far as Groaning Wretch for like main band purposes, full length is number 1. We have a few shows lined up this year. Nothing crazy. Most of them are really local. We're not doing anything big. But yeah, like full length driven. Like we're taking it very seriously. Like we just got, like I said before, like full length sketch from the artist that we're working with is going to be the most ridiculous thing. For me, we're gonna put out new merch this year with the full length, so that'll be cool too. I just got the merch for that. The merch design rather, I should say. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, super excited for both of those. I mean, listening to Groaning Wretch previously because we interviewed Rob was really cool, but it'll be interesting to hear the differences that this will have compared to last stuff. And then obviously the Infinite Misery stuff is super cool.
I just want to hear your vocals on it.
Yeah. I'm kind of excited about that. That'll be really cool. So
yeah, I can't wait for people to get mad like they did when we put out the 3 songs.
In the same way.
Nothing wrong with that. I would say, like, if like, I don't know, there's nothing like putting out your own music and getting
I'm very
reactions from
proud of
people.
everything that I've done from the start of the first band I was in to now. Like I don't think I have any regrets. So I just want to do better every time and like be proud of it and be happy with it and like put out, like I said, put out music that I would listen to. Like, oh, I want to, like, it's a band that I would want to find on a Friday, like a random like Friday release on Spotify. I'm like, oh, this band looks cool. That's what I want. I like stuff like that. So yeah, I'm working very hard. Like I just got fired from my job, so I have like nothing to do right now. I'm about to get back surgery next month, I believe. So like all I'm doing is really working on music. So I think that's like my main focus right now, and I'm working harder than I ever have, just writing and like committing to stuff like that, and just like hanging out with my friends and doing as much as I can to like live my life.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like if you put really hard work in and you put your best foot forward, like you said, like it's I don't want to say it's easy, but like if you put in the work and you put in the time and you put in the passion and the effort, most of the time, like everything that you're gonna put out is gonna be good. You know what I mean? In some way, shape, or form.
Definitely.
At least for you, right? Like some people might be like, well, I don't like this compared to this stuff, or I don't like it doesn't matter. That
It's all
literally
Right.
Yeah, it literally doesn't matter. Like if you're like, yo, like I put in the time, I put in the effort, I put in the passion. I'm super proud of this. I don't care if you don't like it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because you got to keep in mind, there's always going to be people that are like, this sucks. This isn't real
Yeah.
death metal. This isn't this. This isn't that. But that gets people that listen to it and
You're still talking about it.
Yeah.
yeah, and they'll
Yeah.
appreciate it and actually like it because more often than not, like I haven't really heard any shit talk about Groaning Wretch, and like that's
Yeah.
been cool. But like I feel like there's something for everybody in it, and like you, like I don't want to put out music that people hates. Obviously, I don't think anybody does,
No,
but you
obviously.
know, everybody has their opinion, and that's fine. And like I respect it. I listen to stuff that people don't like. I listen to stuff that everybody likes. Like that's
Mhm.
just how it works. Like people hate Taylor Swift, people love Taylor Swift, people hate this, people hate that, but like
It's gonna
people
happen.
that's just how it is. Like that's just
Yeah.
music. Everybody has an opinion. Like, and
Yeah.
that's fine. Like I don't have a problem with it. I
Yeah.
don't get upset when people don't like my band. I don't get upset when people don't want to listen or come see it. Like next person will.
Yeah.
That's just how
Exactly.
everything works.
Yeah.
Like a food, I don't like this food. Everybody likes this food. It's just that's just
Right.
how it works. And like I feel like people really get in their own heads about that kind of thing, and like they feel defeated and they just give up and quit. I don't care. Like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep
Gonna
going and write
stay.
stuff that I think is sick, and it's been working. So I have really nothing to complain about in that sense. And like I really love the people in like community that is death metal. Like
Yeah.
probably the greatest scene of music that I've ever been a part of. Like not one bad person. Everybody that I've ever met in death metal to this day, from like New England area and like beyond to like farther down, like just the best community, and like you feel like you've known them your entire life. So
Yeah.
as long as those people enjoy me and what I do and who I am and support, along with like anybody like that comes out to shows like festivals, anything, and like the fact that they just watch, even if they hate it, that's just really important to me. Like you gave your time to like try and like it or try and give it a chance, and I really appreciate that. So I don't I don't care.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
best way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's awesome.
And it's like I feel because of that, that's why like groaning just like fits so well. Because another one of the shows that I loved, you guys were with freaking Last Laugh and Watch Your Back, like hardcore bands, but
And
you fit so
yes,
well.
yes, and I think that's another thing about death metal that's amazing. Like Dying Fetus played a hardcore festival. Everybody was moshing, and like that's the kind of band that comes out with shirts, no spin kicking in the pit, and they watch it and they laugh because it's so awesome, and they're just like, this is so sick. And like you really learn to appreciate that kind of stuff when you have mixed bills. And I think hardcore and death metal are like really, I don't know why, but they're so hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like this is hardcore. I think this is hardcore. What was it last year? Had 200 stab wounds and sang with Sugabog and like all these bands, and like it works because a lot of the riffs from hardcore come from death metal. Same thing with deathcore, and
Yeah.
like that's why you see a lot of deathcore and death metal shows, hardcore and death metal shows, because like as much as people talk shit about genres and like they're very elitist about it, like all the bands that you like are playing with all the bands that you hate,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
it works, and it's awesome, and everyone's friends. And like I think the people that are the most mad about it are people that just like are very insecure and sad and like really don't get out of their house. They just sit in their house and listen to what they listen to, and they just don't branch out and like give everything a chance. I listen to everything. I don't care. I listen to me still listen to deathcore from 2004 and like to this day. And like that's another thing. Like new death metal bands incorporate that because they all come from each other, and I like that. I think that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Same. Yeah. I feel like, um, the kind of genre divide, not that there is one, but I definitely it's hard because like I like so many different styles of metal and hardcore and eh, you know all of it and in between, that it's just like you have to understand that like every part of that type of music influences the other parts. So it's like
Exactly.
in order to sit here and be like, well, I'm just a hardcore kid, I hate everything else, death metal and metal sucks, like come on, dude. Like I
Wrong.
Yeah.
I can't get behind that because it's like if you like I can understand like not liking specific bands or like not liking specific like parts about genres. Okay, I can understand that. Like that's fine. Like everybody has their own tastes, everyone has their own opinions. That's fine. And I understand that. Like there's bands I listen to that I do, like that I don't particularly like, but I listen to them and I'm like, wow, like this part in this song sounds like this death metal band, or
Right.
this part in this reminds me of this hardcore band. And it's like
Right.
you just you don't have to like it and you know, you don't have to like every type of metal, right? Like if you're into pop, you don't like every pop artist that's ever been out, right? It's the same thing.
Yes.
Like you're just not going to. But like I feel like to just either, and there are people that like are very subgenre specific that like
Yeah.
think everything else sucks, and it's like I don't see how you can have that
I
mentality.
mean, like, yeah, and I'm like that in ways where I'm not a big fan of newer deathcore. I don't like it. I don't consider it deathcore and like stuff like that. Like, of course, but like everybody has their own opinions. Everybody can be an
Right.
elitist. Like, but at the same time, like you said, like hardcore bands that only listen to hardcore, death metal that only listen to death metal. If you go to a death metal show, it's all I feel like that's a listener perspective. If you go and watch the death metal band, they're wearing hardcore shirts. If you go to a hardcore show,
Right.
they're wearing death metal bands.
Right.
So like it's
Right.
really like a weirdo new generation like elitist thing or like fake elitist. Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
posers I feel like when it comes to that or like genre tourists and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And your favorite band listens to the band that you hate, get
Right.
over it. That's
Right.
that's how I feel. That's how I feel
Exactly.
about it.
Exactly. Same. Same. Like I feel like, you know, I love so many different genres and subgenres of metal, and I listen to everything. And
Yeah,
like there are some bands that I like in those genres and some bands that I don't like, but like there's just I don't know, there's no reason to look down upon other subgenres of a very similar type of music that you listen to. It just
of
like just
course.
yeah, you know, like there's so much you can learn, especially as being like an artist. There's so much for you to learn and like be able to use in your own music. And like I don't know.
Yeah,
I try to take in as much as I can, even if I don't like it, because it's going to influence me and
of
like
course.
make me more of who I want to be, you know, with those types of music. So that's just how I look at it. But
Right. I agree.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
cool.
my mic's been muted because my laptop is loud, but that's been like my biggest thing because it's funny, Ed. I think back to the same Newberg show. Mike witnessed me mistake Under Oath and Underthrow because that's like where I used to be of like mixing up everything.
Yeah,
And now I've gotten to the point of like understanding like how particular each of like the subgenres and everything is. Where I'll see a local band and it's like they're labeled as hardcore because they want to be a part of that like community, but like there's so much metalcore influences and everything else around it. So
yeah,
Right.
it's a constant thing, and everything. It's how Rob described Cannibal Corpse. It's like it's death metal with pop riffs like in it.
right, right, right.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good way to put it. Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it just I don't know. I feel like if you just give everything a little bit of a chance or a little bit of a listen, and you know, I don't know, it just I it's fun to be more in a band that has more of a wide variety instead of just straight hardcore or just straight death metal. Like that's what we try to be. Like that's you know what I mean. Like we try to like I love hardcore parts. A lot of the hardcore riffs that are in our songs I've written. Like I've added
Yeah.
into the song. You know, like because that's just like that's I want people to move and I like moving to that kind of stuff. So that's what I add in as my 2 cents. You know,
Right.
and it's like you know, Kyle tends to write a little more like, you know, metalcore and death metal stuff. And so like he, you know, writes a lot of that stuff, but I like to interject other genres. And like, I'm the one that wanted to add a lot of synth and backing track stuff because I wanted to add synth stuff. I'm like, I want it to be different. Like, and
Yeah.
again, not that we're reinventing the wheel, but I just wanted to add enough stuff where it's just like I really like stuff that's got synth in it, and I like hardcore parts. I want to put this in my band, you know, like and you make it where you can make it, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean that's our guitar player Matt. He's a big hardcore head. Like I mean, so am I. I love hardcore. He incorporates a lot of that into our music. Like he's a big part of writing the new music, but he also knows like hardcore death metal. Like it's not just hardcore.
right,
Like I'm writing hardcore death metal parts. I'm writing Pantera groove riffs. I'm writing
right,
stuff like that, like Dimebag riffs. Like it's stuff like that. Like it's not hardcore, but it's like it's death metal that you could mosh to. That's what I want. That's
yeah,
exactly what I want. Death
yeah,
metal that you can mosh to. I don't think we're core by any means. Like you could argue that we have core elements, and that's fine. I feel like I feel like you could say that about any band. Like, listen to a band like Internal Bleeding. They're the first
Right.
quote unquote slam band. People
Yep.
call them hardcore with pig squeals. Like, it's just stuff like that, and like that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, no.
Those are the bands that are playing hardcore festivals that are making mad money and people are moshing to,
Right,
and coming out with
exactly.
fire music, and like you're not.
Right.
Like,
So be
Exactly.
mad all you want. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
so I have respect for just artists that
Yeah.
want to make sick shit. I don't care what you sound like. If your music's good, I'm listening to it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I've come
Awesome.
from the like different eras of every genre that mattered in music, because like I was like born in the '90s, so I've heard early death metal, I've heard new death metal, I've heard early deathcore, new deathcore, metalcore, new metal. Like I've heard all of it, and it's so different. And like there's something for everybody, and that's what I like. I don't think it's a bad thing. That's why you have options. You can listen to whatever you want. You don't have to listen to that band because everybody else does. You could hate it. Just go listen to something else. Like I don't
Exactly.
care what band you don't like. It doesn't affect me. Like
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I totally agree. That's awesome. Cool, man. Well, that's all the questions we have, I guess. So, really appreciate you coming on. I had an absolute blast. Always fun. Um,
Oh yeah.
got some really cool insight on your vocal process. That was a really cool highlight for me. Like I love talking about that stuff, like just like the nerdy brainy stuff about like, like the intricacies of whether it's guitars or vocals or drums. That's what I like hearing, because I don't know enough about it. And so hearing that kind of stuff is really cool. Kind of
Yeah, and I
opens
don't
up
get
my
to
mind
talk
a little
about
bit.
it, so I don't get to
Yeah.
talk about it. So thanks for asking me. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
That was the first time I think I've ever explained that, so that was cool. Yeah.
Nice.
That's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
And I just
Yeah.
love seeing that you're finally in a place with Groaning, like where everyone, like, you're happy, it's your friends, you're producing the music you want. It's not anyone stagnant or like having members like wanting to do one thing, others the other. You're happy
Yeah.
and you're doing the thing you want to be doing.
I
Which is
wouldn't change a single thing. I wouldn't change a single thing right now. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we're both very excited to see what comes next for you guys. Both Groaning Wretch and Infinite Misery. I'm sure
me
everything
too.
is going to be absolute fire. So
Thank you.
we'll definitely be watching that, and when stuff comes out, we'll definitely be one of the top people promoting that stuff for sure, no doubt. In my
Appreciate it.
mind,
Absolutely.
that'll be
Hell yeah.
pushed. But yeah, man, really appreciate the time. It was great, and yeah, we'll definitely be waiting for all the new stuff that's coming out. Whenever you drop merch, I'm definitely getting some. So
Cool.
hopefully
I have
soon.
worn the shirt and I haven't worn it this time. I've been really bad aligning the episodes recently and it sucks. Like we had Vic and I have an old pistachio shirt that I should have worn and it's fine.
I'll send you the new design.
Please do.
Sick.
And I want songs. I want all the things.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll send you the new song. That's the only one that's like we're ready for. So yeah,
Nice.
I'll send you guys stuff. I don't care.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Cool,
Mike,
man.
thank you so much. It's been so good talking to you and so good to see you again. And hopefully I'll catch a Groaning Wretch show soon, since if not, I'll put you on another one. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Perfect. Cool. Well, thanks again, man. And thanks everybody for coming on and watching or listening to the podcast. And we'll catch you guys on episode 22. So everyone have a great rest of the night, and we will catch you all later.
Come on, man.
See you guys.
Peace.